Amazing to be here. Thank you, Yoshi, and the Google team for having me here. As Yoshi said, I run engineering at Endavus, which is a Singapore-based fintech. In a previous role, I actually ran observability engineering at one of the largest banks in the world. So this topic, observability, SRE, SLI, SLOs, is quite close to my heart. So quite excited to be here to learn and share. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. After my presentation, we will have a short panel discussion about how Endorse is doing around the topic I'm going to talk about. So thank you, Deepak, for the introduction, and then let's go to the presentation. See you soon. So in general, reliability is an important factor for the service, not only for web service, but also for any services such as grocery store, public transportation, and so on. So we travel to other countries by plane, for example, because it is proven to be safe compared to other way to transport, for example, such as cars and ships, according to the statistics. Otherwise, we don't get on the plane because it's danger. So that's the reason why we use plane. So this is just an analogy, but the reliability is important in that sense. So reliability is about trust and satisfaction. So the customer keep using the EC site because it completes item checkout without any payment troubles with reasonable processing latency. So especially for startups, those trust and satisfactions are crucial. As you already know, the product won't be spread out by word of mouth without user trust and satisfaction. So in this context, we would say the most important feature of any system is its reliability. So given we share the mind that reliability is important in our system, how could we improve or keep its reliability high enough for users? Once Peter Drucker said, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. This is very true, especially for computer systems. So you can't improve the system without concrete objective that we tune our system for. The problem here is that it's unknown. It is the way to measure user reliability is unknown. So we can't guess what each user is thinking while they are using our product. Also, we can't quantize them even if we could read users' mind. So instead, what we do is to find metrics that are relevant enough to users' reliability. Once we find them, then we set threshold for those metrics where users get satisfied with the service as long as the metrics is above it. So overview concept is like the image on the right-hand side on the screen. So black line is some metrics that is relevant to users' reliability, and red dash line is the threshold. So ideally, the metrics should reflect users' satisfaction as long as it is above the threshold. So for those metrics, in the context of SRE, we use a couple of terms such as SLI, SLO, and SLA. The first one, service level indicator, so-called SLI, is something that you measure about the performance of user experience. The key point here is that the indicator is expressed as a percentage. So you need to define good events over all the events for the indicator. So once you have an indicator, then you can set a goal on that indicator over some window of time. This is considered as service level objective or SLO. So this is what is commonly talked about in SRE. SLO are typically phrased as X percentage of SLI will be some condition over some window. So to be more concrete, this might be like 99% of requests to a service will respond fast enough over a 28-day rolling window. Objectives should be driven by what is necessary for the customer to be happy. The last one, a service level agreement or SLA, is a term you've likely heard before. An SLA is a contractual obligation that might be met. The consequences of not meeting an SLA for customer is typically a refund of fees they are paid or compensations. So we definitely aren't in the business of paying our customers. So we definitely would like to avoid violating SLA. So in the previous slide, you may find that the description for SLA had a different target than SLOs except for refund. The reason for it is because SLA is the minimum baseline for the usability, whereas SLO is the line for user satisfaction. So SLO should have a tighter objective. Also, as mentioned, SLA involves with some agreement with users, including financial refund, which is a thing that we totally want to avoid. So SLO has a role to be a precaution to SLA violation. The problem with SLA is that you are only incentivized to promise the minimum level of service and the compensation that will stop your users from jumping to other competitor. So customers often feel the impact of reliability problems before these promises are breached. So they feel the service failing far short of the levels that keeps your customers happy. And even if the level is above SLA, that kind of reliability breach contributes to a perception that your service is unreliable. So now you got the reason why you need SLI and SLO and how it works. But finding SLI from the scratch is a kind of hard process. Fortunately, we have found common relevant metrics for each use cases. For example, in the case of a request response type of service, such as API endpoint, as mentioned in the previous slides, latency is the key metric for user reliability. Availability is also an important metric. So these two metrics are relatively intuitive, but the last one, the quality, is not that much because you need to have extra ways to validate response quality. So as you imagine, to track a relevant SLO, we need to have extra implementations to extract those metrics, so-called instrumentations. And that is the key for observability. So given you have instrumented your application and have relevant SLOs, they can be an easy to understand common indicator across the whole teams and organizations. As you understand, SLO shares the status of user reliability and in quantitative way or in percentage. So that key point here is that SLO is not the solid unchangeable rule, but is a starting point for the discussion on what to do next for user reliability. As long as all teams has the consensus on SLO, that is the best thing. As we see revenue targets and take them into account for team strategies, SLO should be a guide for everyone as long as our company is making revenue with the service. Our suggestion on using SLO is to use as to decide which to put more effort for, reliability or velocity. One of the major conflicts between development team and operation team is how often they should ship the new features. So at Google, 70% of major incidents happened because of the new changes, such as configuration changes or new version of deployment, etc. So applying new change involves some risks, but as a company, we need to ship new features. So in those situations, SLO helps. So remember that SLO is the threshold for user satisfaction. So in other words, as long as the system is not violating it, you can take risks. So in this context, you can tell that setting 100% for SLO is not reasonable, or setting too high target for SLO is not recommended, because you won't have enough buffer to take a risk for the future investment. So let's take availability as an example. So if you set 4 nines, 99.99% as SLO, the allowed unavailability per 30 days is less than 5 minutes. So that 5 minutes include all processes from realizing the incident until the fix. So that means the system requires some sort of auto-healing mechanism, right? But if you set 2 nines, 99% as a target, you have 7.2 hours per month. It seems much better buffer. So the more you can loosen the target, the more you can invest on new things and you have time to fix incidents. So setting the right SLO is really important. Last but not least, once the incident happens, unfortunately, of course, you need to identify the root cause of the incident and fix the problem as early as possible, because time is money. For that purpose, what we need is the internal telemetry information, such as latencies during certain processes in the system, or like memory consumption of a single function of the application, or like volume of structured events with certain labels during the incident, like error messages, for example. Including SLI, that information is not available without instrumentation. So that is the reason why we emphasize observability. So typical system monitoring don't tell a resource usage of a certain function in the application, because operation system do not know the internals of application. So you need to instrument such kind of telemetry generator by yourself. So though I would like to share more things and more detailed things or concrete things and have discussion with you all about like SLO and observability, I would like to ask Deepak about what his teams are tackling on this topic later. So in this talk, I confirmed the importance of reliability and why we need relevant metrics for it. Then I shared the concept of SLO and how we can use it if we share the mind across the organization that SLO is primary information about system reliability. Finally, I explained why observability is required for finding SLI and solving incidents in a timely manner. One thing I would like to emphasize here is that I didn't tell that this is the way of SRE, because SLO itself is independent from SRE, though it's related closely, but still SLO itself is independent and pretty useful for any organization. So if you have monitoring system, then just try to my recommendation is to instrument a single SLI in your application and then track them. Maybe you get more insights from the application. So that's it for my talk. So from here, let's have more pragmatic talk. So Deepak is joining again, and let's ask how Endorse is tackling problems on their daily business. So welcome back, Deepak. Well, in order to have better understanding of your upcoming answers, could you please share about Endorse for us?
Sure. Endowus, we are Asia's leading digital wealth advisor. And what we do is we help people grow their money with expert investment advice that we provide through a very personalized digital wealth experience through our app experience. Our clients, they get access to solutions that were traditionally only available to high net worth individuals, institutional investors. These would be solutions like institutional share class fund access or access to alternative asset classes like private equity or private debt. So we provide access to all of these in a single application at a low and fair fee. And we are able to do that because we leverage technology to be able to do this at scale. So in a nutshell, we want to make the best of investing accessible to everyone so that more people can actually reach financial freedom. So that's who Endavus is.
Thank you so much. So because your service is on financial area, I assume your users, I mean customers, are really sensitive to the reliability. Like, maybe they don't allow the wrong numbers on the spreadsheet, for example. So I assume that you have some kind of SLOs or like something similar in your service to track the user reliability. Do you have those things?
Yes, we absolutely do. So our service, so if you think about it, our entire wealth platform, it has a few key elements. So we have our client-facing applications, the mobile app or the web app. And then we have a number of microservices behind the scenes. They support different functions like investment or advisory or redemption, reporting, etc. And all of these services are essentially powering a lot of customer journeys. And some of these journeys are visible to the customer, or some of these are behind the scenes supporting customer journeys. So every single journey is, of course, important from a customer perspective, but some journeys are more critical than others. As you alluded to, as a financial services company, we care a lot about correctness of a few flows like investment or redemption, where we really need to get it 100% right. And there are few flows where we actually care more about the overall experience. So for example, application load time, or how long it takes for someone to view their investment returns, right? So those experiences where latency matters a lot, and you want to give a great customer experience. And experiences like making an investment decision or making a withdrawal, here we prioritize much more on correctness rather than latency. So there are different customer journeys, and for each customer journey, we kind of think in terms of different business goals and align different service level indicators and objectives along those journeys.
I see. So according to your answer, it seems like the observability kind of contributes to business decision, right? And then, but on the at the same time, maybe I assume that you have BI system or business analytics system in the system. Do you have those?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so then what kind of use cases do you use observability more compared to other data analytics platform?
It's a good question. So observability really helps us to help our customers in the now, right, in the current, because it is really telling us about how the system is behaving while customers are using that system, right? And so if the customer is having a poor experience, our metrics, our SLIs, everything is kind of giving us information that is useful for us to act if the customer is having a poor customer experience. So it's right in the now. Whereas analytics systems, data warehouse systems, which we also have, they help us in terms of long-term decision making, how we think about growing the overall business, what features are being used more by customers, what features are being used less by customers, and things like that. So I would say it's very complementary. Some observability is really focused on now, is really focused on helping us keep a high level of trust with our customers in their day-to-day experience with the application, whereas data analytics is there to support our business from a long-term health perspective.
Thank you so much. So observability for the things happening now is a good insight for me, because it's a good differentiator from the like BI system. And then sometimes I got a question like that. So what's the difference between BI and observability? So your answer has a good insight and a good learnings for those practitioners. So just a little stepping back from the observability topic, including observability and any other technologies, what do you think growth and taking the business to the next stage, what are some of the elements you want to focus on?
All right. So far, Endavas as a business has been operating in Singapore. So we are Singapore headquartered. So far, we have grown our business in Singapore to more than $2 billion in assets that we are now advising on for our customers in Singapore. But soon we will be launching in Hong Kong, and we are very excited about that. So this is going to be our first international expansion, and obviously this has been a very big effort across the company. A number of pieces have to come together for us to soon be able to go into Hong Kong. And one specific area of this is how we think about our operations, our everything actually, our code base, our CI/CD pipelines, our deployment processes, our operation processes when it comes to kind of managing our wealth stack in Hong Kong. And so one decision we took was that we are going to have the same code base. We are not going to fork it for like a new region, but we will deploy basically a brand new instance to support our Hong Kong business. So it's going to be physically and logically segregated from our Singapore business, right? So this has a number of advantages because you can have the same team kind of supporting multiple businesses. But it also has its challenges, specifically around observability, because now you have two of everything. You have two of everything to monitor and alert on and everything, right? So how do you scale? How do I scale my team's engineering practices, deployment processes, everything around that area, to be able to effectively and efficiently use the same set of engineers to now manage another wealth platform, as it were. Mm-hmm. So that's a big focus area for us right now.
That's really interesting. Yeah, so maybe users in another market may have a different expectation on the service. So maybe the indicators you track may be different from the ones used in the Singapore market. So it's going to be a really complicated and then complex discussion among the team. So yeah, your challenge sounds really interesting to me. Thank you for sharing that. So that question, the previous question, is about the future. And then the next question is, what are your top 3 tips for startups? So the things you learned from your business so far.
Sure. Maybe for the first step, I'll touch on something you shared at the start of your presentation, Yoshi-san, which is trust, right? A lot of SLIs are really about, retaining customer trust. And it's extremely true for the wealth management business, because in our business, trust is everything. We have to win our clients' trust and retain that trust every single day. Trust is, of course, built up over time. Many, many factors go into building up trust. And one of those factors is, how does an individual feel when they are interacting with you, right? So if you think about walking into a traditional wealth management company, They have very nice offices, very nice interiors, very nice chairs. Like the whole experience is designed to convey a sense of comfort, a sense of, this is like a solid place. I can trust this place because it's not going to disappear overnight, right? So it's all designed to give the customer a feeling of trust. Of course, it's not sufficient. That's just one aspect of the overall scheme, but it is an element of it. And so for us as a digital experience, how do we replicate that same set of trust in how clients interact with us? And that is primarily through our app, right? And so one of the things we care about a lot is the dashboard load time. How quickly does it take for a customer when they open the app, how quickly the dashboard loads? Because a slow loading dashboard makes the customer feel a bit more disconnected from their money. No one likes to feel disconnected from their money. We want to give them a sense of immediacy when they open the app so that they can see immediately how their money is working, where it's invested, things like that. And so one of the SLIs we have is around dashboard load time, right? And that's maybe my first tip, which is remember what your business context is. And in our case, it's a wealth business where trust is everything, and try and figure out what are the SLIs that map to your business context. And maybe the second tip follows on from the first tip is don't worry about SLOs too much. Just start with SLIs, right? Especially as a startup, it's great to just get started on what are the key indicators that are important for customer journeys to retain their trust. But you don't have to worry about objectives just yet, because at an early stage, all you need to do is, once you have SLIs, look at those numbers. If there are lots of deviations, get together as a team, discuss what we should do about it, take action, and move on. Right? SLOs are useful when you are at a certain level of scale where you have lots of priorities to juggle, and you need a prioritization framework. So SLOs give you that, because essentially, as you shared, Yoshi-san, it is, okay, if everything is within SLOs, I can continue my feature work. If it's not, then I have to stop my feature work, right? So it's more of a prioritization framework. But at a small scale, you could just live with SLIs, have a discussion, take actions, and move on. And maybe a final tip is don't use error rate based SLOs. So there are systems like RED, which stands for request rate, error rate, and duration. So maybe these are the three things you should measure according to the RED system. Or there's a use system, which is similar in that you should measure utilization of resources like CPU and memory, or saturation of resources and error rates. So both of these systems say measure error rates. I caution against measuring error rates for a startup. And the reason I caution is that as a startup, you should actually be looking at every single error, right? Every single error behind that is a customer who was not happy with the experience. And as a startup, every single customer matters, right? Error rates, they can kind of lull you in this false sense of quality based on percentages. Oh, my error rate is less than 0.5%. But 0.5% for a small startup which only has 100 or 1,000 customers is very different from 0.5% for millions of customers. So don't, as a startup, I would advise just look at every single error till it's no longer feasible, and then you can start leaning on error rates. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I got a good insight from your answers. Especially, I would like to highlight the part where starting from observing SLI, and then don't rush to SLOs and error rates. So as you said, startup it is different from like enterprise company, and then it is of and then also the user's expectation is not too high in a good way in terms of the like experiencing something wrong. So but observing the status of system itself is really important. So the advice of starting from SLI is really is the things I really would like to highlight from your answer. I got the good insights from it. So, and then I hope everyone had a good insight from the Deepak's answer as well. So I would like to discuss more about Deepak, and then I would like to learn more from the Endo's experience. But I think it's a good time to close this session. So again, please give Deepak warm applause, and then let's make it a wrap for this session. So thank you, Deepak, for joining this session.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.